everybody, welcome back to the Plane Window. This week, Delta said goodbye to another one of its veteran 757s, tail number N661DN. And this one had a career a little different from most. Its last few days of work were a pair of round trips between Atlanta and Querétaro, Mexico, closing out with flight DL8852 on July 11th, the final leg home to Atlanta. Fitting, in a way, for a jet that spent its last decade shuttling charter groups rather than grinding out a normal route map. Its very last assignment still looked a little like a charter run. The plane sat at Hartsfield-Jackson for a couple of days after that, waiting for one more assignment. Then, much like N171DN that we recently covered, that final assignment was received. On July 13th, it flew DL9963, a short, non-revenue positioning flight over to Birmingham, Alabama. No passengers, no cargo, just the airplane making its own way to the scrapyard. Let's talk about why this one's worth remembering. N661DN first flew on the 12th of December 1990 and went straight to Delta the same month. A standard 757-200, the workhorse narrowbody that's been hauling Delta passengers since before a lot of you were born. For its first 2 decades, it did what most 757s do. Domestic runs, the occasional international hop, nothing that would make the history books. Then, in November 2009, it disappeared from the schedule. Delta was deep into digesting the Northwest merger, and the airline had more airplanes than it needed. Ship 661 sat in storage for about 7 months before Delta found a use for it again in June 2010. But the real turn came in 2016. Delta pulled this jet out of the regular fleet and sent it in for a very different kind of modification. It came back with a charter configuration, 72 first-class seats, no coach cabin to speak of. This wasn't a plane for the 6 a.m. Atlanta to LaGuardia grind anymore. This was the plane that showed up on the tarmac for sports teams, corporate charters, and VIP movements. For the last decade of its life, most passengers boarding this jet weren't buying tickets. They were on a roster. The reconfiguration wasn't random. Delta built this charter fleet largely with NBA teams in mind, and the 72-seat all-first-class layout made a lot of sense once you think about who was sitting in it. The average NBA player stands somewhere around 6'7". Regular coach seats were never built with that in mind. An aircraft with nothing but first-class pitch meant an entire roster of very tall athletes could actually stretch out on a cross-country flight instead of folding themselves into economy row after economy row. It's a strange kind of retirement path. Most 757s age out flying the same routine schedule they always did. This one spent its final chapter as one of Delta's charter specialists out of the public eye, doing a very different job than the one it started with. Over the years, spotters logged it carrying the Golden State Warriors, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Cincinnati Reds, and even the Green Bay Packers to a preseason game. A rotating cast of professional athletes all riding in the same 72-seat first-class cabin. Perhaps its biggest moment came in 2025 when it carried the Los Angeles Dodgers home to LAX from Toronto after winning the World Series. That's not a bad way to spend a Tuesday flying home a championship team. After nearly 36 years, that job is done. No water cannon salute, no farewell livery. Just a quiet positioning flight to Birmingham, joining the long line of Delta 757s headed for the scrapyard as the airline keeps trimming its aging narrow-body fleet. Ship 661DN never had a flashy career. It just kept showing up, decade after decade, doing whatever job Delta needed done. First, the regular grind. Then, when Delta needed something else from it, a second life in the charter world, that's not a bad way to spend 36 years. So here's to the Delta 757 known as N661DN. Not the most famous 757 in Delta's fleet, but proof that even a quiet workhorse can end up living 2 very different lives. What do you think? Did any of you ever catch this one on a charter flight? Let me know in the comments if you've got a story about Ship 661. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more aviation stories, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on The Plane Window.